Why you're ignored when you try the hardest. The psychology of neediness and how it pushes people away. There's a moment when you feel you've done everything right. You gave your time. You gave your warmth. You put your soul into every message, every glance, every detail. You didn't wait to be asked. You were already there, ready to help, to please, to support. You tried your best. And yet, they grew colder. The more you gave, the less they responded. The more you opened up, the less they listened. Your care became background noise, your presence invisible. This is where the quiet heartbreak begins, not when someone leaves you, but when you're still there and they no longer see you. The truth no one tells you is this: the more you try to be loved, the less lovable you seem. Neediness wears an invisible mask. From the outside, it might look like kindness, attentiveness, generosity, but something in the energy is off, something subtle, a thread pulled too tight. And others can feel it, even if they don't know why they're pulling away. People don't run from your love, they run from the hunger behind it. This hunger has nothing to do with how you look or what you say. It lives in the pauses between your words, in the way you hold space, hoping someone will finally choose you, in the ache behind your smile when they don't. When you try the hardest, you're often trying from a place of fear. Fear of being unwanted, fear of not being good enough, fear of being abandoned again. But fear can't be disguised forever. No matter how soft your voice is or how perfect your timing, people feel it, and they recoil. And this is the paradox that breaks so many hearts. Trying too hard is the very thing that pushes others away. We live in a world that tells women to give more, to care more, to love unconditionally. And so you learn to offer yourself like a gift, hoping that someone will treasure you. But no one wants a gift that comes with invisible strings, strings tied to your sense of worth, your identity, your hope of being finally enough. So you get quieter, you get sadder, you wonder what's wrong with you. You tell yourself, I must be doing something wrong. Maybe if I give more, try harder, love better. But nothing changes, because what they're reacting to isn't your love, it's your emptiness. This video is not here to shame that emptiness. It's here to name it, to understand it, to bring it into the light. Because neediness isn't weakness, it's just a signal, a wound that never fully closed, a part of you still waiting to be seen, not by them, but by you. Over the next 30 minutes, we'll walk through the unseen psychology of emotional hunger, how it shapes your relationships, how it distorts your presence, how it makes you invisible, and how to come back to yourself. This is not a motivational speech. It's a quiet unveiling of something deeper. It's time to stop begging to be chosen. It's time to choose yourself, not in theory, but in truth. And that journey starts with understanding the invisible force that has shaped so much of your life, the psychology of need. Need doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers so softly that you don't even realize it's running your life. You smile, but it's not joy. It's hope that they'll smile back. You listen, but it's not presence. It's waiting for your turn to be heard. You give, but it's not generosity. It's a silent contract. Please, love me back. This is the quiet reality of emotional hunger. It looks polite, it looks sweet, it looks like care, but underneath it's driven by one thing: absence. The absence of being loved in your rawness, the absence of safety, the absence of someone who stayed, not for what you did, but for who you were. Neediness isn't about wanting too much. It's about never having received enough when it mattered most. And so the inner child, the part of you that still remembers every rejection, every cold room, every emotional silence, keeps reaching. But here's the paradox. The more you try to be seen from this place, the more invisible you become. People don't know how to respond to someone who doesn't feel whole inside. They sense the pressure, the intensity, the longing, even if it's all wrapped in smiles and soft gestures, because it's not about what you do. It's about where it comes from. Neediness has a frequency. It's not loud, it's heavy. And others feel that weight, even if they don't understand it. They back away, not because they're cruel, but because something inside them feels cornered, trapped, guilt-tripped, as if your love needs to be repaid, and they're not ready for that debt. So they disappear, and you're left wondering why. This is the invisible weakness. Not because needing connection is wrong, but because when you abandon yourself in pursuit of it, others abandon you too. You become a shapeshifter, saying yes when you want to say no, smiling when your heart is breaking, making yourself smaller to avoid being too much. But no one truly connects with someone who's performing. They connect with realness, with boundaries, with energy that says, I want you, but I don't need you to breathe. That is the line between attraction and obligation. When you're in need, you radiate desperation, even if your words sound confident. You can say, I'm fine, but your eyes are searching. Your energy is scanning. Your soul is begging, and people feel it. Even if they don't know why, they step back. This is not your fault. You didn't wake up one day and decide to be needy. You were shaped into this by wounds, by absence, by a world that rewarded self-sacrifice and punished self-worth. But it becomes your responsibility to recognize it, because no one can fill that space inside you. Not permanently. That's your work. Until you meet that place inside with compassion, not shame, you will keep repeating the same pattern. Give, wait, be ignored, feel worthless, try harder, be abandoned again. The cycle won't stop because someone finally loves you right. It stops when you love you right. Need isn't something to kill or deny. It's something to understand and hold. The child in you still believes that if you give enough, prove enough, suffer enough, someone will finally stay. But the woman you are now knows you don't need to suffer to be loved. You need to return to presence, to dignity, to truth. Because the moment you stop begging for connection, you start becoming someone others feel drawn to. Not because you need them, but because you are yourself. And that energy, that's what changes everything. There's a law no one teaches in school, but it governs almost every human connection. The more you bend yourself to be liked, the less they value you. It's not cruelty, it's instinct. When someone gives everything away too easily, their time, their care, their energy, something inside us says, if it's this easy to get, it must not be worth much. And this isn't about arrogance, it's about perception. We're wired to respect what stands firm, what holds its shape, what doesn't flinch at the thought of being alone. That's not coldness, that's inner stability. But when you're trying too hard, always agreeable, always available, always soft, you unknowingly tell the world, I will do anything to be chosen. And they believe you. That's when the dynamic shifts, from equal to unequal, from connection to chase, from being seen to being used. Because here's the bitter truth. When you give more than you receive consistently without boundaries, you stop being a person. You become a resource. They come to you when they need something. Comfort, attention, a soft landing, but they don't come to know you. They don't stay to nourish you. Because you trained them to think you don't need it, that your love is endless, that you'll always say yes. And slowly, your worth starts to erode. Not because you changed, but because they never had to work to keep you. We don't cherish what we don't have to earn. That's not just romance, it's human nature. If you're always trying to please, people will take, not out of malice, but out of habit. And one day you'll realize you've built a relationship entirely on your effort. You carry it, you nurture it, you save it, and they simply exist inside it. This is where exhaustion sets in, where resentment builds, where your inner voice whispers, "I do everything. Why don't they see me?" But they don't see you because you erased yourself in the process. This is what the good girl conditioning does. It teaches you to be agreeable instead of authentic, to avoid conflict instead of setting boundaries, to earn love instead of expecting respect. And the more you try, the more you signal that you are afraid. Afraid to be left, to be disliked, to be alone. But fear never commands respect. Only presence does. You don't have to be aggressive to be respected. You don't need to play games or pretend to care less. You just need to stop shrinking. When someone crosses a line, name it. When something hurts, say it. When you want something, own it. This is not about becoming hard. It's about becoming whole. Because when you act from need, you compromise. But when you act from truth, you create real intimacy. The kind that doesn't depend on performance. So many women lose themselves trying to be the perfect partner. They become easy to be with, but impossible to truly love. Because love doesn't bloom where one person disappears. Respect begins when you return to yourself, when you stop performing for affection and start living in your own skin. And that shift, it's magnetic. It tells the world, I know who I am. I don't need to be chosen to exist. And when that energy enters the room, everything changes. Sometimes what looks like love is actually control wearing a beautiful mask. You cook, you clean, you listen, you show up. You make sure they're okay before they even ask. And deep down, you whisper to yourself, now they'll stay, now they'll see. Now they'll choose me. But that's not love, that's fear. That's a transaction, even if you never say it out loud. There's a silent contract behind every overgiving gesture. If I do everything right, you won't leave. If I carry the weight for both of us, you'll finally love me the way I crave. This is the trap of effort as control. You don't raise your voice. You don't demand. But your nervous system is screaming, don't walk away. I need you to need me. You do more and more, hoping to secure your place. But what you're really doing is trying to manage their feelings and your own fear of abandonment. And here's the twist no one sees coming. The more you give from that space, the more you suffocate the relationship. Not because you're too much, but because the giving isn't free. It's loaded. Every favor becomes a tally. Every sacrifice, a silent debt. Every gesture, a veiled plea. See me. Choose me. Don't leave me. This kind of energy builds tension, not intimacy. The other person starts to feel it. They might not name it, but they sense the weight. It doesn't feel like care anymore. It feels like obligation, because they know, even subconsciously, if they don't respond the way you need, you'll be hurt, you'll pull away, you'll get colder. You'll remind them, softly or sharply, how much you do. This is not evil. It's human. It's the strategy of a heart that never learned safety. But it's also not love. Love doesn't require proof, and real giving comes from fullness, not survival. When you give to control the outcome, you lose yourself, and worse, you lose the very connection you're trying to protect, because no one wants to feel like they're being emotionally managed. They want freedom. They want truth. Ironically, the moment you stop trying to control someone with effort, you become free, and so do they. And only in that freedom can real love grow. This is the hardest pill to swallow. No amount of doing will ever make you safe in a place where your being isn't enough. You can't earn love that's meant to be chosen freely. And you can't keep people who only stay when you're overextending yourself. So the next time you feel the urge to give more, ask yourself, Am I offering this because I want to, or because I'm afraid not to? One comes from love, the other from control. And the energy behind the action is everything. When you release the need to be repaid, something miraculous happens. You start giving from abundance, not emptiness. You start relating as an equal, not a beggar. You stop tracking the scoreboard because you're no longer trying to win something that should have been mutual from the start. This is where your power begins. Attraction is not born from perfection. It doesn't come from saying all the right things or never upsetting anyone or being endlessly available. Real attraction, deep, magnetic, lasting, is born from energy, not desperate energy. Not the energy of please like me, but the energy of wholeness. There's something quietly powerful about a woman who knows she's enough, not in a loud, performative way, but in the way she breathes, the way she walks, the way she's not afraid of silence. She listens because she wants to, not because she's waiting to be validated. She gives because it brings her joy, not because she's afraid of losing. She says no when she means no, and yes only when it feels true. This kind of presence can't be faked. It's the result of choosing yourself, again and again, especially in moments when it would be easier to abandon yourself just to be liked. When you stop chasing, when you stop proving, when you stop negotiating your worth, you become magnetic. Because you radiate something rare. A woman who doesn't need to be chosen in order to feel real. And that changes everything. People are drawn to what feels anchored. We all are. Because in a world that's always rushing, bending, pleasing, wholeness is irresistible. Think about it. The people you admire most, the ones who captivate you, they don't chase. They don't perform. They're not trying to be liked. They're simply being. That's what makes them unforgettable. So when you find yourself wondering why someone pulls away when you try so hard, ask this: am I offering love? Or am I offering my identity in exchange for approval? Because the second you hand over your sense of self, the energy changes. You become less of a person and more of a mirror, reflecting what you think they want. And no one stays in love with a mirror. People fall for presence, for essence, for the quiet strength of someone who doesn't disappear inside the relationship. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be everything. You just need to be you, fully, unapologetically, and without apology for your needs, your space, your voice. And when that happens, you stop asking, why don't they see me? Because suddenly, they do. But more importantly, you do. And that recognition, that inner click that says, I'm whole with or without them, that's the most attractive thing of all. There comes a point when you get tired, not of loving, but of begging to be loved back. You realize that the more you fight for their attention, the further away you drift from yourself. You begin to see the cost of chasing crumbs, the silence in your soul, the tightening in your chest, the way your eyes start losing their light. And in that quiet ache, something shifts, not all at once, not like a thunderclap, but slowly, gently, like a truth you've always known, finally rising to the surface. You were never meant to fight for love. Love that's true does not need convincing. It does not require sacrifice of your essence. It does not ask you to become smaller to fit someone else's emptiness. It sees you as you are, whole, human, imperfect, but real. And to return to yourself is not to stop loving others. It's to stop abandoning yourself in the process. You don't need to prove anything to be worthy of connection. You don't need to try harder, speak softer, give more than you have. You just need to stop running from your own company. Because the most painful form of rejection isn't when they ignore you. It's when you ignore you, when you silence your boundaries, betray your truth, and call it devotion. But now you see it. And when a woman sees, she awakens. She no longer waits for permission to exist. She no longer contorts herself to be palatable. She no longer performs the role of the pleasing shadow, hoping to be chosen. She chooses herself, not out of pride, but out of peace. Not to reject others, but to no longer reject herself. This is not the end of love. This is the beginning of real love. Love that doesn't ask you to shrink. Love that meets you, not saves you. Love that feels like freedom, not relief from loneliness. When you stop trying so hard, the war ends. The war with your worth. The war with your silence. The war with your fear of being alone. You realize you've always been enough. You just forgot. And now you remember. So let them ignore you if they must. Let them drift. Let them go. Because the one who truly sees you will never need to be chased.